If you spend 5 minutes in the filmmaking side of YouTube, if you watch a single gear review and the algorithm decides that you're into that stuff, you will see a whole heap of videos promising to give you tips and tricks to make your videos cinematic. And I'm here to say, stop worrying about making cinematic video. Here's 3 reasons why. First things first, what is cinematic? This sort of stuff can be hard to define, so let's look at 4 clips from 4 very different films, all of which are widely critically acclaimed, beloved by audiences, and released internationally in cinemas. This is Moonlight, RoboCop, Persona, and Y Tu Mama Tambien. So what do you notice about this stuff? Can you tell that RoboCop is less contrasty than Moonlight? Because films made back then used to be shot with lower contrast because there was more variation in projection and TV technology, so you had to play it safe. And RoboCop, by the way, is also way more grainy. It was shot that way on purpose to look like rough and ready reportage filming. They've also got different aspect ratios. Moonlight is filmed in a wide and thin 2.39:1 ratio, while Persona is in the boxy 1.37. Moonlight was shot with anamorphic lenses, giving these characteristic flares and distortion. And Moonlight is also really saturated, while Y Tu Mama Tambien is more reserved, and Persona is actually in black and white. The camera is almost always static in Persona, but then it's almost always moving in Y Tu Mama Tambien. What does the imagery of these films have in common? Arguably not much. At least not something you can use to shift a new kind of camera gear. There is one thing they have in common, but we'll get to that at the end of the video, because I crave watch time. Now you might think I'm splitting hairs here, being pedantic. You probably have an idea in your head of what cinematic means. What if I told you that even that general idea was a moving target that shifts with different equipment and changes in taste? Check out this Philip Bloom video from 2008 reviewing a spinning disc adapter. These contraptions allowed you to mount proper cinema lenses onto prosumer camcorders, resulting in a nice shallow depth of field which you couldn't get with video. Do you see how soft the image is and how low the dynamic range is? In this case, there are technological limitations that make this look far worse than traditional cinematic approaches happening over in the feature film world at the same time this was being made. But this was specifically marketed as a cinematic look. This isn't unique to modern prosumer technology either. There are visual fads in films, like the penchant for zoom lenses and star filters in the 1970s. We might even be in the middle of a fad for square aspect ratios, but shh, you didn't hear it from me. Okay, so to recap, we don't know what cinematic really is, and it seems to refer to different things at different times, and maybe even to different people. But here's a further thing to consider. Why are you trying to make things cinematic in the first place? Right now, we've got more technology available to us than ever before, which can do some pretty amazing things. My camera, the one I'm filming this actual video on, shoots 6K RAW, allowing me to shift exposure, color temperature, and saturation with very little loss of quality in post-production, producing these immensely sharp images. I almost said cinematic then, which tells you how widespread this is. And that camera costs less than £2,000. Now, when my dad was my age, that money just about got you a camera. This camera, in fact, which shoots 16mm standard film, a relatively soft and pretty technical format that can be forbidding to beginners. You can break it just by looking at it. It didn't record sound directly, and it needed a lot of light. With all the tech that we have available now, why are we so focused on reproducing the things that others have done before us? Looking back at those 4 images from earlier, I think the thing that really links them, if there is any one thing, is a distinct vision for the imagery within. A boxy, tight aspect ratio and black and white film makes perfect sense for Bergman's claustrophobic, introspective drama about shifting identity. And it makes just as much sense as an expansive, saturated and contrasty frame shot with warm, organic lenses and immersive camera movement makes for Jenkins' humane, sweeping drama. Cinematic isn't about gear or a particular look, it's just a way of approaching choices. Think for yourself, approach each project anew, and see gear only as a toolkit for creating that vision. Now, I feel like this might have been a bit preachy, a bit lectury, so I wanted to finish up by pointing out some great creators who really do approach, in quote marks, cinematic video in interesting ways. Lewis Potts makes incredibly in-depth cinematography content that always stresses feeling, tone, mood, whatever you want to call it, as key in creating and motivating imagery. And on a more DIY basis, Rob Ellis, who features elsewhere on this channel chatting about David Lynch, does the same thing on his excellent YouTube channel. And if in doubt, my best advice is just that you listen to the best. Check out the Team Deakins podcast, a series of interviews with key creatives and master cinematographer Roger Deakins as they talk about the ideas and processes that go into their best work. Now that's it from me, but if you've got a favourite bugbear of the cinematic video world that is so prevalent on YouTube, then let me know in the comments down below. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.